All right, the first matchup for week number 3 that I am going to talk about here. Title of this one is called The End is Near. We have a 1-1 Harsh team taking on an 0-2 Rob Coffey team. Rob Coffey believes he should be 2-0 if he had chosen the right quarterback. Harsh, deservedly so, is right where his record should be at 1-1. Even if, I'm going to throw this out here, even if Coffey chose the right 2 quarterbacks in this situation, okay, he's putting up 120 to maybe 130. And I think Alex, talk around the fantasy league is that the 2 teams on the low end of the totem pole are Alex, because of the Harsh curse. Harsh, it is a real thing. I don't care how much you want to deny it. And Rob Coffey. So even if you were 2-0, there's not a lot. I would be honest, from the naked eye, I know, Rob, you're preaching the Aaron Rodgers relax thing. My team's not that bad. With Jerry Jeudy being gone, with Clyde Edwards-Helaire not living up to expectation, George Kittle not having a substantial floor, there's a lot more not to like about this team than there is to like about this team. And on the Harsh side of things, for whatever reason, you have a very big hard-on for going up against Rob Coffey. In your mind, I think this is the rivalry that you've suddenly created. But I want to just give you a little bit of a history fact here. I think there was a point in time when we did the fantasy league, and I think that the 3 most targeted people in the league were, I think for a long time it was David, then it was myself, then it was Rob, and then it was kind of like pick those 3. Then Johnny won his first ring, and then we had to take him seriously. But Harsh, I think what you did by winning your first ring, and I think everybody knows, I'm the only one who's ever backed you up on this. Your drafting philosophy, a lot of people always thought you were at the lowest end of the totem pole, but the fact that you won has kind of created this landscape where it's, hey, it's anybody's ballgame. I don't think that you can confidently say that there's one alpha. I think there's guys that are more consistent, but I don't think we have that like alpha big dog anymore. But unless this is just your fixation for Rob, go for it. But let's take a look. And there's nothing else better than for you to make him go 0-3 because I know you want to be the one to hit the dagger. Kyler versus Justin Fields. This is Kyler Murray all day. Had him last year. This is what when his shoulder is not bothering him, he is a floor of 30, upside of 40 plus. He's ridiculous. My thoughts on Justin Fields, I think he'll be okay. I think he'll throw 1, maybe 2 picks, but I think his legs, DraftKings has him over, or the prop bet is 50 plus rushing yards. That's great. So I think the picks will get canceled out by his rushing ability. Touchdowns, I'll set it at, I didn't look at that, but I think he'll throw 2 touchdowns. But regardless, you're not taking on Kyler Murray. AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Chris Godwin, Sterling Shepard. Look, I don't care. I got to go AJ Brown and CeeDee Lamb. This looks like a big AJ Brown bounce back spot. I know he has looked really, really bad the first 2 weeks, but it's mostly drops. It hasn't looked him health-wise. I think you can fix the drops. CeeDee Lamb against Philadelphia, wide receiver 1 season underway. AJ Brown should bounce back. Then you got Chris Godwin and Sterling Shepard. These are guys that I think are phenomenal floor guys. Shepard is probably a drop I'm going to regret now. But with Gold, like I talked about this, the reason why I wanted him was no Golden Tate. He's going to play permanent slot when they got Kenny Golladay on the outside. Sterling Shepard is a great receiver if he stays in the slot. He's not very good on the outside. Same with Chris Godwin. Slot guys, unless they're in a monumental shootout, while I do think that Chris Godwin, I'll say it now, I think Chris Godwin will be the highest scorer of these receivers. However, I love the combination more of A.J. Brown and CeeDee Lamb. I think that they have 20-plus point upside, where Shepard really doesn't have that. So I'm going to take the lean on Harsh. Antonio Gibson and Ronald Jones versus Austin Eckler and CEH. Because of Ronald Jones, I got to go the Austin Eckler CEH route. Simply morally because Austin Eckler, I'm down on Ronald Jones and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You talk about a guy who's in the doghouse. Chiefs might never, ever run the ball. Forget the fumble. Darrell Williams was in. This is a bust of a pick, Rob. I don't care how you look at it. This is a bust of a pick. This is, again, This is why once Najee Harris was taken off the board, you had to go receiver, and I think you forced yourself in going into a running back where the upside, while it looked like it was there, it was just too risky for my liking. But I'll give you this advantage just because Ronald Jones ain't going to do crap. At least Clyde Edwards-Helaire supposedly will be on the the field. George Kittle versus Logan Thomas. This has to be a big game for George Kittle, because if it's not, this is just a bust of a pick as well. Again, we preach why you don't go tight ends in the first how many rounds, because if they bust, you can't replace that. Kittle's talent alone, this got to be the one. Harsh bad news for you, buddy. At my job, I saw some mother in a George Kittle shirt drop off their son, which is highly uncommon in this area. So that might be a sign for Rob. But I think Logan Thomas, the matchup alone serves him really good. But it's George Kittle. I'll take the talent there. Juju and Tyler Boyd going up against each other in the same matchup. This is the definition of Juju is a tight end. I don't like him. He's a tight end because he can't separate from receivers. But without Deontay Johnson, I get it. He might get targets. But Juju is the definition of, if he gets a touchdown, it's only 17 points, maybe. If he doesn't get a touchdown, it's 8 points. That, to me, is a definition of a tight end. Thielen and Debo, though, in matchups where they should succeed, you're going to say to yourself, Jair Alexander, though, on Debo Samuel. Shanahan's move out their best receivers so they don't have to avoid the one-on-one coverage. Debo's going to eat. Adam Thielen is... God, I hate this. All right, he's going to be fine. Boyd, it's funny because you have Juju and Boyd without T. Higgins and what the hell's the other guy's name? And Deontay Johnson. So, in theory, Rob's team should get a boost here in the flex. But I'm not seeing it. Whoa. Do I actually have to change my tune on this, guys? The New England D against New Orleans could be good. I don't know why you're starting Chargers D. Okay. Well, it comes down to this. There are a lot of even things. My keys to victory here for Harsh. Antonio Gibson's got to get the workload after J.D. McKissic. My theory is this, and you saw when McCaffrey went down. When these guys touch the ball 20 plus and they're playing Thursday the next week, they're going to, scale back their workload. Not because they don't trust them, but that's a lot for the body to take on a short week. Logan Thomas has to outproduce George Kittle. Reason why I'm saying that is because George Kittle has not done anything yet. Take advantage of the opportunity. Hopefully he doesn't go off, but Logan Thomas could take advantage in this matchup. And I think that the receivers that you have, I think you need a combination of 2 to 3 touchdowns from those wide receivers. Because if you do that, assuming Kyler's going to be on his A game, if those 3 things happen, I think you're going to win. Rob, Austin Eckler's got to be unleashed. That's key number 1. This is a great matchup, and the pace, if they're going to be from behind, he should get all the catches. They let him loose last week. He looked like the guy you wanted to get. He was great. They got to continue to make that happen, though, in this matchup. George Kittle's got to wake up. You spent a 4th-round draft pick on this guy, and if he doesn't, again, this is why you don't take tight ends that early. And I think you need 20-plus from Justin Fields because Murray's going to go off against Jacksonville. Here are my bold takes. Chris Godwin is going to be a top 5 wide receiver for week number 3. My other I guess you could say this is a hot take, bold take, and my other take. I'm just going to label it as takes. A.J. Brown finally gets off the schneid. I think he gets 20. And my other hot take here is Adam Thielen is the Vikings wide receiver 1 in this matchup. Yes, I know, gross. But although I think this is probably the week where Rob figures out a quarterback, I think he puts up a valiant effort. But in the end, I think Kyler Murray alone and the flex isn't harsh. All right, well, good news is a little bit one of you is definitely in your first win of the season this week because it's 0-2 versus 0-2, 2 of the most cursed teams, I guess. Krier, the fantasy gods, for whatever reason, I don't know what you did, but they're really not happy with you. And Alex, you're having the harsh curse. Well, already the curse looks like it's more in favor with Krier because CMC went down. Yeah. Ouch. Okay. Yikes. What do we know? Not a lot. I'm gonna just. I want to go through this a little bit more quickly as possible. Lamar looked great. Rodgers against San Fran. Last year, the San Francisco 49ers team was deflated. They had no sense of urgency. Rodgers killed them. But I'll take Lamar because Rodgers to me still doesn't look right. Woods and Higgins, well, Higgins is out. So if I'm looking at who you have in there, it looks like Corey Davis is going to have to get the start. But Adams alone should be fine. Woods, I think, will have a bounce back. But I'm just going to say it right now, Alex. If Barkley, all he has to do is get 10 points because McCaffrey got 5. I'm just going to speed through this because I know I don't want to talk anything. If you honestly want me to say who I would have picked, I honestly would have had... This to me was a coin flip, actually, because I had the running back advantage to Alex even before the CMC injury. So I'm just going to make this short. I'm going to make this sweet. Higgins is out. Christian McCaffrey only got 5 points because he's going to be out for a while. This really sucks for David Krier because I do think that Waller has a phenomenal game. But I like Gaskin. I like Marquise Brown. Don't like Mark Andrews. Alex, congratulations. The harsh curse will have to wait another week. I think you're going to get gifted with a victory here. Yahoo already has it as a 78% chance of victory. It should be a little lower because Corey Davis will be, but it don't matter. That's not a good matchup for Corey Davis either. Congrats. Yes, sir. We are back. Oh, God, what is going on here? Okay, so the reason why your projections are low, Alan, is because you don't have Swift and Cook. So I don't know. Here I'm going to have what I wrote down on Wednesday, and then I'll throw some things in there. Oh, I'm sorry. Cook is in. Swift, for whatever reason, is on the bench. Don't know why. Matt Stafford or Josh Allen? Well, Josh Allen has not looked great at all. And now regression police are starting to come around and be like, oh, I told you so. It was a lucky. Oh, let's see what happens this week. Stafford is in the shootout of the week, supposedly. We'll see how he does as well. So I'm going to have to... I am not big on either of these guys rest of the season. Actually, that's a lie. I'm just talking out of my ass right now. I think both will go over 20 plus. Do I see a 30 plus? If there's anyone who's going to go over 30, it's going to be more Josh Allen because of his legs, not necessarily Matt Stafford. But I do think that the Rams can't run the ball, which means Staffy's going to have to throw. Draw. Diggs and Cooper versus Jamar, Chase, and Cortland Sutton. Chase is going to get fed a lot, but I think he's going to have to rely on Boyd a lot as well. Chase looks like, I think he's scored in every game he's played so far. And is that correct? Yes, it is. So targets are going to go up. How are they going to utilize him without T. Higgins? Because I feel like T. Higgins is more of the intermediate guy. Chase is more of the deep threat underneath Tyler Boyd. I think that's pretty much simplified as it could be. Well, I think the way to beat Pittsburgh is in the secondary. It's not necessarily in the trenches. So I like Jamar Chase. Cortland Sutton. There's a fantasy doctor who's taking a lot of heat on Twitter. Don't know if you've seen this because he said that, like I talked to you about it, Cortland Sutton I know has been hobbled all season long, but there was a video of him doing footwork drills. You're supposed to look slow on that. It's just to get your timing right. It's almost like trying to level yourself on a balance beam. Like it's not necessarily, you don't need to show burst, but you need to do what you need to do. Sutton against the Jets, this looks like a mouth-watering matchup. Teddy Bridgewater, Mr. Checkdown, every time I watched that game, we were in Wild Wings, he was chucking bombs. So, Alan, this actually, you know what? This to me is saying Teddy Bridgewater is now adjusting to his receiver's skill set and say, you know what, this guy's more suited for the jump ball role. I'm going to give it to him, and he cooked the Jacksonville Jaguars. So maybe Teddy isn't going to check down. Now, yeah, I get it, Alan. I still don't think this would have happened if Jerry Jeudy was there, but I think you lucked out in Cortland Sutton as the wide receiver 1 of this team. I've had him. He's a big, big dude, and he can ball out. But I also do think that, not necessarily Tim Patrick, but I do think that KJ Hamler will get a touchdown this week. But I'm not going up against Amari Cooper against the Eagles smells like trouble, and so does Stephon Diggs against the football team. I got to go Diggs and Cooper, although Chase and Sutton will make it close. Nicholas Chubb, James Robinson, and right now you have Dalvin Cook. Okay, so I'm going to read this as Dalvin Cook and Javonte. Javonte Williams has a good matchup. Unfortunately, I have not seen it's a 50-50 split. He's either touchdown or bust. Jets can stop the run. I love Chubb. I don't love James Robinson. If Cook is in, you know what? Draw. Originally, here's what I had. I had it as, because Alan, on Wednesday you had DeAndre Swift and not Dalvin Cook. And because of that, I took Chubb and Robinson. But if Cook suits up, this to me is a clear-cut draw. Chubb, I think, will have a great game. Dalvin Cook, I think, if healthy, will have a great game. But I am not big on Javonte Williams, and I am not big on James Robinson. Therefore, draw. Kyle Pitts is going to feast in this game. He's going to outproduce Jonnu. Flex is Melvin Gordon and Leonard Fournette, or Jamar Jefferson, I'm sorry. Justin Jefferson, KJ Osborne. Allen is now officially a Vikings fan. He is stacking 3 Vikings. Allen, this stack to me is still gross, although if the Vikings look like complete dog poo, it will be okay, but I would love to see all of them. Well, not Osborne doesn't count, but Jefferson and Cook need 20 plus for it to pay off on a weekly basis. And I just feel like if Cook goes off, Jefferson's limited to like 10 points. So, but this game, this is this. I don't even. It's not even a sneaky shootout. But everybody's talking about the Rams. They're talking about the Bucks. This might be the game I think that goes way over. It's in a dome too. I don't know. Honestly, now it's either Osborne or Swift. I don't know what Allen's doing. B Magic, I'm sorry, I can't help you out on here on this one, but I like Jefferson and Osborne. If he's in on the action, okay. But give me Pittsburgh against Cincy. I mean, that's, to me, is a slam dunk. This is a weird thing. Here are my keys. B Magic. Josh Allen, is he really elite? We've got to see a 30-point plus upside game here, buddy. That needs to happen. The running back need to be the lead dogs over here. James Robinson and Nick Chubb, they need to be the guys to carry the workload for their teams. And Amari Cooper, off the injury report, fantastic news for you, but he needs to feast in a matchup which is very mouthwatering. Mr. Allen, Skull, Vikings need to produce in a shootout. Cortland Sutton needs to be the big dog, and the Broncos need to be up big. And what I mean by that is the first half, all Cortland Sutton, second half, give Javonte Williams some run. Because the Jets stop the run very good early on until the game gets out of hand because the defense is gassed because the offense is putting them in terrible spots. Trust me, I know all about it. That's my keys. Hot takes. Nick Chubb will have a 2-touchdown game. KJ Osborne, for the third straight week, will get double-digit points. I think that this matchup alone is going to be fun to watch. Osborne, it seems like he's taking over the tight end role, where it's like, if you watch all of his production, not that 60-yard BS touchdown he had against Arizona, but if you watch the way they use KJ Osborne, he's more of a guy that he likes in the 2-minute drill. It's like, okay, I can't find anyone. Check down, out route, slant route. That's it. And Jamar Chase, third straight game with a TD. Although B Magic has some nice guys here. This Allen team, man, there's days where I'm like, what is going on here? And then there's other days where I'm like, yo, this team is showing me something. The B Magic team, I gotta be honest, B Magic, I really don't like your flex options. They're just has-beens. It's like Melvin Gordon and Leonard Fournette, and I think that alone is limiting the upside of your flexes. I know you're projected. Why is this such a massive projection in your face? Oh, because Washington only has 4 points. I got it. You know what, Alan? I think you deserve a victory, buddy. I'll give you a victory here. All right, so we have a rumor here, which is entirely untrue. But the matchup I'm talking about is Johnny and Andre. Johnny's under the impression that I hate his team. No, not true. I just thought that your draft had a bunch of boring veterans, and it's your definition of a floor. Now, the 170-point outburst is definitely like, oh, I'm sorry, was this floor or upside? Because I'm seeing upside here. Get it. But if you look at the matchups, I chose you 2 weeks in a row. And spoiler, it's going to be 3 weeks in a row here, buddy. I'm sorry, Andre. And Andre, I don't hate your team, although without Deontay Johnson, it's not looking too good for you. Bottom line is this. I'm just going to say it right now. Give me Tom Brady over Jalen Hurts, Najee Harris, and the Harris boys. Okay. I don't like that trade. See, that already is kind of I honestly just wrote it out with Nyheim Hines. They're essentially the same guy in terms of production. If Nyheim Hines doesn't get a touchdown, he might get you 8 points, but that's the same thing as what's his face? Damian Harris I just don't like because James White is still a thing. I know he's gotten catches, but that's like panic catches. It's like, oh crap, I need to throw it to somebody in the area. It's not, yo, we're going to design your playing for some catches and dump offs and this, that, and the other. It's kind of a more emergency, guys. Did not like that move at all. Evans and Lockett, although Evans might see Jalen Ramsey, guess what? Andre has to start with Cole Hardman. Lockett, people are now giving him the nickname Mr. September. I'm hearing this all in Twitter universe. He's September, October, and then November comes around and he's hurt. You know how I feel about Tyler Lockett. He's going to be just fine. Like I said, if Lockett is never on the injury report, I'll repeat, if Lockett is never on the injury report, this is what he's going to do. He is the wide receiver one nobody wants to talk about because all they see is, well, this guy didn't do anything after his outburst. He's too boom or bust. No, he's not. He's a great wide receiver. I didn't take him because I didn't want 2 Seahawks. That's the only reason why I passed up on him. But yeah, give me Lockett. Ridley is in a tough matchup as well. So I'm going to go the Lockett side. Rondale Moore getting the start with Kareem Hunt. Julio or Beasley. Yeah. Moore is in a good matchup. Hunt is kind of boring-esque floor type of guy. Julio Doe and Co. Whatever on Cole Beasley. Julio Jones is in a good matchup and he balled out. Give me Travis Kelce over. Okay, this is what I'm going to call a case-closed matchup. Bump, 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 bump. I don't see any way possible. And here we go. I know you're going to be superstitious. Johnny, if you listen to my podcast, I've picked you twice in a row, so don't give me that BS. Can you honestly, Johnny, okay, never mind. I take that back. Andre might have the advantage in the running back department, slightly. I think Najee will get his volume. Ezekiel Elliott, people are now nervous about Pollard. I'm not. In fact, Andre, if you want to give me Zeke, let's work out a deal. David Montgomery should be fine. I don't like Johnny's Damian Harris thing. But if that's the only thing, but it's not even like it's a wow, yo, his running backs are like top 10. No. I can't seriously look at it and say, yo, Andre has an advantage against Johnny. Maybe the running backs. But to me, this is a case closed matchup. I think Johnny puts up 132 and Andre 105, 110. Injuries and questionable guys that are starting for Mr. Dre are the reasons being. All right, boys, get ready for this because we've got a lot to talk about. In fact, this matchup was in contention for matchup of the week. However, I figured I'd put the 2 undefeated teams going head to head. But I'll be honest, this is probably the first time I've ever. No, that's a lie. But this matchup is so close that I actually had to write down and use an online calculator to calculate my projections. So I actually wrote my projected score for everybody in this game. It's a fun one. it's it's cool. I actually had a lot of time writing all this down. So Paul, this is not going to disappoint to your liking. So Paul is 2-0, coming off of a nervous week number 2, but escaped still undefeated. And Patrick, the Derrick Henry Express, poor David Krier, came out. So without further ado, here we go. We've got Paul. Is this Paul or Patrick? Yeah, Paul. This is the second week in a row where the quarterbacks in your fantasy matchup have actually gone head to head in real life too. So we have Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert on the same field. I'm just gonna throw this out here right now. I want to pump the brakes on Justin Herbert, not saying that he's a bust, but I think after what we saw last year, everybody knew he was going to be the hype guy that was going to take the next ascension. But he's shown that he's been human. Herbert, yikes. I didn't know it was this bad. 15 and 16 points against matchups that he should have feasted against. Well, good news for Justin Herbert. He's going to have to throw a lot in this game. But in a head-to-head matchup against Patrick Mahomes, against an ugly loss in primetime television, I mean, let me get Mahomes. I'm going to say Patrick Mahomes, 38 big ones for Paul in a revenge game spot. Well, no, not revenge, but just a big outburst. Herbert, I think, gets his first 20-plus game. I'm going to say 23. It should be more, but I can't confidently go out and say, yeah, this is a 30-point performance because he's actually been throwing a lot. He's just not executing. Tyreek Hill and Chase Claypool versus DeAndre Hopkins and Keenan Allen. Okay. So we have both quarterbacks also stacked with their primary options. If Mahomes is getting 38, Tyreek Hill is going to be on the receiving end of it. I'm going to give Tyreek Hill 22 fantasy points. Here we go. Okay, now you can... Actually, I don't even know if you can say now because Ben looks like crap. But without Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool is going to have to be relied on a little bit more heavily. Chase Claypool, one of the most volatile receivers. Paul, I was with David, and David was showing me a text. He goes, yo, Paul is so pissed about Chase Claypool. Look, this is why I didn't want Chase Claypool. With Deontay Johnson on the field, Chase Claypool isn't even worth a flex. I'm sorry if you can hear some baby screaming outside. Or maybe the baby's crying because I'm talking about Chase Claypool and how he's going to get an opportunity. I don't know. But Claypool, I honestly have him projected for, dude, I don't even know. It's either 3 points or 17 points. Take your pick. DeAndre Hopkins on the questionable list. Man, this baby doesn't like this receiver matchup. He gets the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, he has the third most targets on this team. People are overreacting on Twitter because they want to be the guy to say, I told everyone Rondell Moore was going to be the receiver one this season. Like, no, that's not going to happen. DeAndre Hopkins will get 16 points. I think he'll get like a touchdown to salvage his day or something like that. Keenan Allen. Everybody talk on the fantasy streets is, has Mike Williams officially surpassed Keenan Allen as the alpha in this offense? No. And I think this is a great matchup for Keenan Allen. In fact, if you do DFS, I love Keenan Allen. Everybody is hopping on the Mike Williams bandwagon. It's about damn time. It only took the guy 5 years to realize, like, oh, hey, yeah, I can actually produce for fantasy. But I'm going to throw this out here, and it's... I have this written down on paper that I have Paul as the advantage. But the more and more I look at it, like Keenan Allen might have a lot of catches in this game, and Hopkins is Hopkins. I'm going to say draw because I think I've seen what Claypool does without Deontay Johnson, and it's against the freaking Bengals. All right, here's where things are going to get interesting. Chris Carson and you got running backs in the same mat. No, you don't. Never mind. Chris Carson, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Kenyon Drake, I guess. I'm going to tell you why this is a draw. Derrick Henry, when he gets his motor going, he's back. I think Henry gets 30, even though Drake will only get 6 points or some BS like that. Carson and Taylor, I think Carson gets 16. Carson, the usage was there, but he had 2 touchdowns because of penalties at the 1 yard line because of interference. he'll find the end zone again, and Jonathan Taylor will get his usage. It's going to be close. I have Carson down for 16 points, Taylor for 23, Derrick Henry for 30, and Kenyon Drake for 6. So the box score will say 36 from the Patrick side, 38 from the Paul side, so it's kind of a draw. Gronk or Noah Fant? Look, I know Gronk has had 2 games back-to-back with 2 touchdowns. That's going to stop here. I'm going to say draw. Noah Fant, a guy that I've hated, is actually... He's like my Mike Williams at tight ends. Every year, this guy is getting hyped up. I don't see it. Fant, I guess because Jerry Jeudy, he should be okay, but I'm going to say draw. All right. This, I think, is where the matchup's going to be won. Gentlemen. You have the former Giants receiver and the current Giants receiver, Odell Beckham Jr., hopefully, unless you get another weird inactive Sunday morning, making his debut this season. And you got a guy who I didn't like in Kenny Galladay, taking on Chase Edmonds and Will Fuller. So I'm going to flat out say this right now. Paul, you've got way too many boom or bust receivers on this squad. Luckily, I think what keeps it afloat is the fact that you have guys in the running back department that get a nice floor. Now, Galladay against the Atlanta Falcons. If Galladay can't do it here, he's a bust. I did not like this signing to begin with. I don't think he fits for what Daniel Jones does. This is the damn Falcons. I'll give Galladay a pass against Pat Surtain and the Broncos. Okay, that was a bad matchup. I'll also even give him a pass against the football team on a short week. Well, he was yelling at Jason Garrett to call him some plays. Is that going to be the case? I don't know. Odell Beckham Jr., Paul, don't jump up and down when I say this. I think Odell becomes vintage Odell this week. I'm very big on Odell Beckham. I have no idea what was going on. Maybe he's recovering from an injury. No Jarvis Landry. Paul, I want you to hear this out. Do you really think that the Browns are content with rolling out Rashard Higgins, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Anthony Schwartz, and Demetric Felton? I think they're going to unleash Odell Beckham. There was a quote. He went up to Myles Garrett and said, "I'm ready." Now, if he follows it up with 2 points, are we joking right now? The Bears play a leaky zone coverage defense, which means that if there's 2 guys, I think, that are primed for this matchup. It's him and it's Donovan Peoples-Jones, because the zones will probably bite down underneath on everything, and Baker should find him over the top. If he doesn't, you're going to go ballistic. The Chase Edmonds side, this is a great matchup against the Jags. Thing with Chase Edmonds that is lowering his floor a little bit this season. Wait a minute. He's giving you double digits. He's always involved in the rushing game. He's always involved in the passing game. He's the definition, though, of a floor guy. I think it's funny because they were ranked around. I think Chase Edmonds, Mike Davis, and there's another running back that's kind of like him. They're in that same tier. It's like they're going to get a lot of work in the passing game, which keeps their value afloat. It's the Jags. Connor, I know, was used a little bit more. I don't like James Conner at all, though. So it's a good matchup. Okay, this is the guy, Paul, that I think if this guy hits, is going to make you nervous because all your receivers, Paul, not including Tyreek Hill because he's Tyreek Hill, are all boom or bust. Whereas if I'm looking at Patrick's receivers, they have an established floor with a lot of upside. But this guy here is finally making his debut, and that's Will Fuller. Well, I, for one, have no idea what his role is on this Dolphins team. What I can tell you guys, though, is as I'm watching this game, Waddle seems to have the slot receiver job locked down. Parker, look, I'll be honest with you. Parker, I think, has been very impressive. He has looked a lot better than I thought he would be. And now that leaves Will Fuller. Thing we know, Tua's not starting. It's Jacoby Brissett. If Will Fuller is going to go deep, it's going to be once or twice. Because Brissett's a game manager. And I think that the Dolphins can control this game very well. It's going to be a different type of offense. But this is a scary matchup. Now, if you look at the Raiders side of things, their defense
Let me just go to Patrick's team for a second.
Raiders defense already has looked, I'm not going to use the word good because that's, a little too much. But what I will say is that they haven't been as bad as people think, especially on the outside. They actually brought in Casey Hayward and another. Trayvon Mullins actually played pretty decent. They have not given up big plays yet over the top. So that is something to keep in wonder. That maybe they're actually not that bad. I know it's only 2 games though, so I don't want to go. And then of course we have Arizona versus Buffalo's D. Zona's D looks in a prime spot against Trevor Lawrence. When Chandler Jones had 5 sacks, we could be seeing deja vu all over again. Okay, my keys to victory. So if Paul is to go undefeated still, the running backs need to negate Derrick Henry. I think Carson's in a great matchup, and I think Taylor's in a good enough matchup where he can do some damage. But you can't let Derrick Henry run all over you in this matchup, or else it's going to be a long game. And then you got Jonathan Taylor. Or, I'm sorry, they're going up head-to-head. First key to victory for Paul, running backs need to negate whatever Derrick Henry does, because let's be honest, I don't see much from Kenyon Drake. Third key to victory, Kansas City has to outproduce the Chargers in terms of fantasy. You got head-to-head matchups going here between Keenan Allen and Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, and Tyreek Hill. I think comfortably I can say that you are going to outproduce. I think that'll happen. And your flexes, it's Galladay and it's Odell Beckham. I think you need a touchdown in the flex department. So if the running back's going to negate what Derrick Henry does, the Chiefs outproduce the Chargers, and one of your guys in the flex gets a touchdown, I think those are the 3 keys that need to happen for you to win. Patrick's side of thing, Patrick's 3 keys to victory. The opposite, Chargers for fantasy need to outproduce the Kansas City Chiefs, which is highly unlikely, but we've seen stranger things. The flexes, if there's one area where to kind of take advantage of Paul, it's his flexes because they're so boom or bust. And while I think that Edmonds is going to give you a decent floor, Will Fuller taking advantage over the top could be a recipe for success. And then I think you need 2 touchdowns from Hopkins and Allen. Not each, but I think if you can do that and have 2 combined from them, I think that's a great recipe for success. So, funny thing was, I started calculating. Here's what I did for the flexes. I have no idea what is going to happen for the flexes. So I projected each flex guy at 10 points. I think that's the fairest thing to do. And when I did the calculations, here's what it comes down to. Paul is projected, I have him projected for 138 points. Patrick, I have projected for 135, which means in a very, very close and great matchup, I'm going to take Paul. Well, 2 teams undefeated in a long, long, long time rivalry. David Sutton and myself for the matchup of the week. It gets no better than this. I really do wish, and I'm going to tell you what I had down as projections. I wish I could have gotten this out earlier, but it doesn't change the fact that this is still the matchup of the week. Now, David, I know you keep saying, yeah, I always lose against Nick. You broke that trend, I think, like 3 or 4 years ago. Finally, I won 9 straight against you. I remember it ended at 8 or 9 straight against you, and that was pretty much it. But I don't even remember what happened last year. Oh, I did beat you last year too. So, but you did get 1 or maybe even 2 against me because I had one team, not last year. I think 2017, I had a really bad team too because Beckham got hurt. This is a great matchup all across the board. I'm going to it now. I'm going to pull it up. So I had wrote everything down for my notes and as things for this matchup on Wednesday. There's obviously been one change, which I'll get to later on, but everything else stays the same. Let's get into it. Dak Prescott and Russell Wilson, I think both quarterbacks are in phenomenal matchups. You have Dak against the Philadelphia Eagles. David, you're an Eagles fan. The way you attack the Eagles is you go deep. That's where they're most vulnerable at. Now, the Niners don't have a guy that can stretch the field, and they're a run-first team, which is why the Eagles' defense looked pretty solid. Eagles are really good against guys over the middle, and they're really good against everything underneath. They suck against the big play. And Amari Cooper is in, CeeDee Lamb is in. Dak should have his way with the Philadelphia Eagles. At home, too. I didn't even know it was at home. Flip side. Russell Wilson goes into a dome against the Vikings team. This Vikings team, I think, is going to just self-destruct, man. They are another team that has the worst luck that I've seen in a while. Man, it's tough. But the more and more I look at it, I think this is going to be a great draw. I think that Dak and Russ, their projections are neck and neck with each other. I think their point total comes out pretty solid. Honestly, this is what I have written down on my paper. DJ Moore and Brandon Cooks. I had DJ Moore projected for exactly 16 points. I'm not going to lie to you. And I have Brandon Cooks for 12. So they exceeded my expectations. They both got you 16. Well done there. DK Metcalf and Allen Robinson. So my thing with, I love Metcalf's matchup. I know in one game against Arizona, Pete Carroll chose not to throw because Patrick Peterson was on him. But then the second time around, DK got the best of Patrick Peterson. Thing that might be in your favor here, David, is that Tyler Lockett isn't hurt yet, which means that he's going to probably find him over the top. But regardless, I love DK Metcalf still to this day. He's still involved heavily in the offense, and he should be okay in this matchup. Emphasize should. I'm not worried one bit. Allen Robinson, he's the guy that I'm interested to see what happens with him and Justin Fields, because Fields did not throw a lot when he came into the game. One, because Joe Burrow was throwing pick after pick after pick after pick. So it's like, look, let's feed David Montgomery. Now he goes into practice. Matt Nagy is saying to himself, wow, this guy can do it all. Allen Robinson still projects to be the guy who is going to be the go-to guy. We'll just wait and see what happens. But even with the 16 points, I still had this as an original draw. I had Metcalf for 17 and Robinson for like 15, something like that. I'm not going to sugarcoat it anyway. Alvin Kamara and Joe Mixon versus Aaron Jones and Michael Davis. So here's my takes on this. Alvin Kamara didn't do anything. I think, look, David, I want you to ask Andre. I want you to ask Harsh. There was one defense I was big on at the beginning of the year, and it was the Carolina Panthers defense. I said, this is the defense that nobody's going to draft. They have a lot of young talent. Matt Rule is a defensive guy. I love this defense a lot. So, and they've shut down. Kamara was the only big name that they shut down. So maybe they have a good defense. I don't know. Flip side of everything else that we just talked about. Alvin Kamara goes against New England. Here's what everybody is saying. Well, what does Bill Belichick like to do? Takes away the team's best player. Ding, 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 ding. Well, here's what they did. Week 1, Miami, they didn't have a best player, and that's why Waddle, I think, scored a touchdown. Week 2, they took out Corey Davis. Sorry to say this, David. Alvin Kamara is going to be targeted, but I think Kamara doesn't score a TD. What I think will happen with Belichick, though, is the reason why I think Kamara's value is still going to be nice in this matchup is I think he's going to get everything dumped to him. It's going to look ugly in the box score, but I would not be surprised if he caught 8 passes. I don't think he's going to have anywhere to run, though. So Kamara last week only got you 5 points. But look at it. He was still targeted 6 times. Do I expect the Saints to win this game? No. It's at New England. It's a tough matchup. Kamara should still get some catches. Joe Mixon is in a bad matchup. But again, like Kamara, I think Mixon gets stuffed on the ground, but I think that he's going to have a lot of volume in the passing game to kind of keep his value afloat. On my side of things, Aaron Jones is going to go against the 49ers. Aaron Jones has only, since he's been the starter the last 2 years, I'm going off, this is just mental math. The game where I had him, he only had like 6 points. Second time was in the playoffs when Mostert ran for 200 yards. He had a 2-touchdown game, and last year he didn't score a touchdown. David, you know I subscribe to the theory of if a guy goes off like he did last week for 38 points, he's going to calm down this week. I don't know. I'm not. Here's what I'll say, David. I don't think he's going to be a bust, But on the flip side, I don't think he's going to get 40 plus fantasy points again. So I think it's going to be somewhere in between. I'll say like 15 to 16. Mike Davis, I think reports came out now. Johnny subscribes to Roto World Notes. They're hinting at a 60-40 split between Cordero Patterson and Michael Davis. Well, all I can say is that's fine because it's kind of been that way anyway. And Mike Davis has been getting a lot of targets. This guy is not, I don't want to say a cheat code, but like if he keeps getting targeted, and by the way, the reason why I'm not down on Mike Davis, he played the Eagles and he played the Bucs. Those are good teams against the run. Now he gets the Giants. In a game where both teams are really bad, I think Mike Davis actually hits his projections for once this week. But like it might be 13 instead of 12. Because of the Mike Davis uncertainty, and I have this weird feeling. I know everybody's down on Alvin Kamara because it's the Pats. I think they just let him get everything in front of the chains. He might just wind up with 10 catches that go nowhere. Logic will say draw, but I'll lean a little bit on David. David, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. TJ Hawkinson was a great pick. We all said, well, the Detroit Lions, TJ Hawkins is the only one he can throw to. And guess what? He is the only consistent guy he can throw to other than the running backs. He might be he's definitely going to be top 3 tight end. He might finish as tight end 2. Maybe. I love Waller, so I don't know about that, but he'll finish at 3rd. Higbee, I know in a shootout looks promising, but look, I'm not an idiot. I'll take TJ Hawkinson. Flexes. Here's where things get weird. Originally, the flex matchup, David, I had was Terry McLaurin and Mike Williams versus Cooper Kupp and Jalen Waddle. But something just happened, which I'll get to in a minute. Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry gets a scary matchup in Tre'Davious White. But the thing I like about it's funny because Heineke and Ryan Fitzpatrick are almost the same quarterback. Heineke especially loves throwing bomb after bomb after bomb. That's all he does is he just chucks it up. McLaurin in a matchup against James Bradbury was just fine. I'm not scared at all in this because I think Taylor Heineke, I like his attitude for fantasy. For real life, it might cost him his job, but for fantasy, I'm just going to chuck it to my best player, even if they got the best guy on him. Okay. I promise you this was going to happen. I said if Mike Williams follows up a good game with another good game, I have to acknowledge him. And now it's like if I pass Mike Williams in the hallway, I'll say, hey, Mike, what's up? Big game you had last week. We need to take him seriously now. He's never been able to do this. Thing I'm even more impressed about with Mike Williams, they're not just using him as a jump ball receiver, which is why I was so down on those guys. Big match for Mike Williams in a shootout type of an atmosphere. David, there are even talks on Twitter saying that Mike Williams has surpassed Keenan Allen as the alpha in the Chargers offense, I'm hearing. I'm not willing to go that far yet. The only thing I will say that Mike Williams has that Keenan Allen doesn't is the downfield vertical threat. That's about it. But I'll take the target share more with Keenan by season end. But this is a great matchup. Cooper Kupp, okay. Cooper Kupp, as of right now, is the wide receiver 1 on the fantasy season. He has looked absolutely phenomenal. Here's my worry. He's been scorching hot. David, what did I say about my theory? If he follows it up again, holy cow. But I think that the Tampa Zones and Todd Bowles are really going to key on Cooper Kupp. I actually think that Van Jefferson scores a touchdown oddly in this game, and I think that Robert Woods is going to have to be used a little bit more. McVay, though, doesn't have Jared Goff anymore. He's got Stafford, and he can design some more plays, but as of right now, there's literally one guy that Stafford trusts, and it's Cooper Kupp. So if I'm going to say he's going to be a bust from the naked eye, no. And he's in a shootout of a matchup, which should shoot out, and they can't run the ball. But I have Higbee. I think if the zones are going to be so condensed against Cooper Kupp, then Tyler Higbee should be wide open. But look, I'm not a professor. I'm not a genius, whatever you want to call it. I'm just a teacher who loves fantasy football. And the time has officially come for Trey Sermon to get his starting role. This is the weirdest roller coaster ride I can remember. He goes in the 5th, 6th round as a hype guy. Everything's going to be fine. He becomes a healthy scratch week 1. Everybody thinks he's the bust because Elijah Mitchell Then Elijah Mitchell starts week 2. Jermichael Hasty goes down, and immediately after, Trey Sermon also goes down. But guess what? Mitchell is now doubtful. I don't know how the hell we got here, but we're here. He's in the juiciest matchup you could have against a run defense. It's the Green Bay Packers. David, I know you're listening to this right now, and I know part of you is just like, it's Kyle Shanahan. He's probably going to mix and match a bunch of guys because he doesn't like Trey Sermon. Trust me, that's on the back of my mind. And then there's another part that's like right now in your mind, you're like, oh my God, this is going to not end well. I have no idea. But bottom line is he's getting the start. It was Jalen Waddle, but I'd be a fool not to start this guy. You're starting the Raiders D, who look pretty good. But I think I like Miami better in this game. And I have Denver's D against the Jets. David, I'm sorry, but this is the second week in a row where you have to face Zach Wilson nonsense against the opposing defense. All right, keys to victory. David, Alvin Kamara's got to be Alvin Kamara. He can't get 5 points again. My key to victory here was I originally had you down as a flex advantage. As far as targets and workload, I still think that's the case because we don't know what's going to happen with Trey Sermon and a Hawkinson TD. So if Kamara becomes Kamara, the flexes went out my flexes, and you get a Hawkinson TD, should be good. My keys to victory, Russ and Metcalf. Let's go, guys. We need to connect like you did in week 1. This is weird, but I have Mike Davis. Or honestly, no. Okay. Mike Davis got to take advantage of a soft matchup. I know Cordell Patterson's still going to be used, but Mike Davis is no slouch. And then 2 touchdowns in the flex department. I think whether it's Kupp or Sermon, I think that's what happens. David, I'm not superstitious. I don't pick. Those are my keys to victory. I do think this is going to be a fun one to watch.